You ready, B? Let's go get it.
Love and happiness, yeah. Something that can make you do wrong, make you do right. Yeah. Love.
Episode 2, Truth Is.
Episode 2, Truth Is.
We live and
Let's
direct.
get it.
All right, Brothers Keepers Podcast, Episode 2. We back.
We back.
Ryder,
Here.
Dom. Episode 1 was a success.
Vanishing Culture was dope.
Vanishing Culture was dope.
Good
So,
feedback.
Absolutely. Shout out to everybody who took a look at that for us.
Shout out to all the people that subscribed. I mean, as soon as we posted it, I mean, we started getting subscribers, so that's good.
Got some good feedback, some constructive criticism, and some accolades, some props. So shout out to everybody who took a look at it.
Right.
But today's episode, we're gonna be talking about truth. Episode's called Truth Is. That's the title. We're going to discuss some ideas about what truth is. I got a quick quote. Truth exists outside of our perception of it. It's not subject to our knowledge, being its own entity. We can align with it or operate in confusion and lies. To dismiss absolute truth as a concept logically and necessarily eliminates ignorance as a concept.
Mm.
So that's where we're going with it.
Okay. Now, you just said a lot in a little bit.
I just said a lot in a little bit, but we're going to break it down.
We're
going to dice it up.
We're going to definitely.
Piece
Truth
by
is.
piece, like we did last time, bro.
Yeah.
What do you feel? What do you hear when I say that? Like when I just say truth is, right? You talk about the concept of truth.
Truth is definitely not perception.
It's not perception.
It's not perception.
Now, why would you say something crazy
Truth
like
can't
that?
be perception because what's the definition of truth?
You tell me.
So, I mean, I can give you my definition, but just to be exact for the viewers and listeners who actually want to catch up on it.
Okay. Now we Googling it
Yeah, we're Googling. We're gonna Google their definition
because we know Google's a biased source.
Absolutely.
We all accept that. We don't all accept that.
We don't all accept that. Nobody looks at it like they create a certain agenda for answers to questions like, what's the definition of truth?
Yeah. And then the really reason I knew that is because I looked that up. I was having a discussion. Oh, shout out to belated Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope y'all had a good Thanksgiving holiday.
Right. No, I definitely hope everybody's Thanksgiving was.
Mine was
100%.
awesome. I got to visit my brother in California. That was awesome.
How'd that go? Matter of fact, we talked about it, but was it really?
It was.
It
good,
looked
man.
refreshing for y'all, man. When I
did.
seen the pictures on Facebook, I'm like, man, this is what it's about, though.
It is. It
Right.
is, man. And it's, it was good to see my brother. It's been a while, right? When you got family that's all over the place, like, my dad came in Florida. I'm here in Jersey. He's over there in California. So when you get a chance to meet up, you know
Right.
how it is, bro.
No,
When we both been traveling. You know how when we linked up in Longview, right?
Man.
It was a move.
I was just happy that you came all the way down there.
yeah.
you
well,
know,
I was close.
You know what I mean? We ain't have to do nothing. We could have really sat on my couch and just did this.
Man. That's
You know what I
That's
mean?
what it's
But,
all about. So that was great, man.
No, I know it was dope. It was a good fellowship. So truth is that family is important.
Truth is that family. So that might be your truth,
Right.
okay? But my truth is
Yes,
that family is whatever you make it. Your friends can be family, and
absolutely.
I'm lying. I don't.
So
really believe
perception.
it. Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just saying that.
So that's your. Oh, you
Yeah,
don't
I'm
think so
I'm trolling. See, you see how easy that
Okay,
was.
okay.
You so ready to hear that?
Yeah, because that's the way people normally go. No, family is my friends. Family is So we just going because you
Yeah.
mad at this person, forget the bloodline,
Right?
and
It don't mean nothing.
and it don't mean
It
nothing
don't
no
mean
more.
nothing because
So-
I don't want it to mean nothing. That's how it go.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how they say it go.
that's how they say it goes.
But you say you
We're
just
so opinionated.
yeah. That's I mean.
How does
So?
being opinionated co-align with truth?
So I think anybody who speaks with passion
Right.
has a desire for truth,
Okay.
even if you lying, right, or ignorant, right, which was part of the little quote that I gave earlier. Anybody who speaks with any kind of passion and conviction cares about truth, right? You have some people that don't. You can have a discussion with them. I'm not saying if you don't speak with passion, you don't care. But what I'm saying is people who are passionate or opinionated or whatever, they value truth or they value information, right? They don't want to be ignorant. They don't want to be caught out of position or
They're
anything like
concerned
that.
with what's right.
Yes. Even if what's right to them would be a subjective definition of what right is,
But
right?
it's more important to actually know, um,
Yeah.
what is possibly right, which is
Right.
co-aligned with truth,
Right.
You
But
it's
then
a
you get
circle.
into subjective morality, and that was one of the first things I wanted to bring up was subjective versus objective truth,
Right.
right? More of the culture right now, more of the vanishing culture right now is that we have a subjective idea of what truth is versus objective. And real quick, for people that aren't familiar with those terms, if you want to say something is subjective, then that means that it's subject to something else, meaning it relies on something else. Objective mean that it doesn't, it stands on its own.
Right.
So if you take a concept like truth and you make it subjective, meaning it depends on how I feel or my perspective or what my information is, right? That makes truth subjective. A lot of people live by that reality.
Because
That's
it's
how
more
they can
personal.
say exactly.
It's more personal.
And they can kind of bend it to suit their worldview or opinion about one thing or another.
But see, that's where I feel like we go wrong because I mean, and they would say this is my perception.
Yeah.
Obviously we always gonna have that
heard-
battle,
yeah.
especially in the world that we live in. But
For sure.
truth should be narrowed down. There shouldn't be, okay, I think it's this because I feel this way and I want to feel this way.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It should be narrowed down. When I look at this wall, is this white or is this gray right here? In
Right.
this space that I'm touching, it's actually white. That's the truth.
Well,
Now,
if I'm a subjective truth person, right? If I believe in subjective truth, I would say, well, it's only white if you think it's white. And the way that our culture has set things up, we just called that color
because you
white.
were told that it was white.
Right. That could be any color. Who decided that was white? This is the arguments people have. And
Right.
from an intellectual standpoint, it does have some like feasibility, some
Right.
like you can understand how a person could come to that conclusion to an extent. But the fact of the matter is that is white. And not only is it white verbally or linguistically as far as how we're describing it,
Right.
but the concept of that color representing what we all know to be white is also true, right? And that's kind of it's kind of deep a little bit, but what I'm saying is that what we all recognize
It's different.
is this same thing.
It's the same.
Whether we call it white, whether we call it turquoise, whatever it is we decide to name it, it is what we all recognize that it is.
Exactly.
Like we
I
all
don't care if you
perceive
say,
that.
well, I kind of think it's orange.
Right. We could rename this to be orange,
We can name it.
but orange would be the new white
Exactly.
because objectively that's what that represents.
That's what we see.
So, and that's an example of objective truth,
Mhm.
right? And, over Thanksgiving, I was telling you, I had, some deep conversations about what truth was and objective truth.
Right.
But the easiest way I would break it down for anybody that's kind of maybe not following all the way is I look at a subject like math. I feel like that's the easiest example that you can give somebody about what objective truth is versus our perception of truth.
I agree.
You
Break
know
it
what I
down.
mean? So math, right?
Right.
What's 1 + 1?
2.
Why is 1 + 1 2? Is it because
It's because they told us that it was 2, bro.
I mean, so this is how, because that's what they're gonna
Well,
say.
Right.
But this is what I'm gonna say.
Go ahead.
So before they told you it was 2, was it still 2? Think about, like, was it? Is it not 2 because you don't know it? And this is why at the end part of that quote, right? I said that if you dismiss the idea of objective truth, then you dismiss the idea of ignorance as a concept. Now follow me on this, right?
I'm following you.
If all truth is subjective, then how can you tell somebody that they're ignorant about something? How can you be ignorant about something? Right?
So listen to this. Truth on this view is when the proposition matches reality.
The proposition, is that Merriam-Webster? Who that?
Let me see.
Because I like Merriam-Webster.
It actually doesn't even say who actually said that, but wow, that the proposition matches reality, which means you can't run from it.
Right. So type in did you type in truth definition on Google?
Definition of truth is the quality or state of being true, that which is true in accordance with fact or reality.
Fact or reality.
Fact or reality. How can we run away from truth? Why don't we all get it on what actually is true if we are faced with the reality and the facts in denial and ignorance?
And I think comfort, it kind of goes into what we
Right.
kind of touched on a little bit last week, but it's like truth is unyielding, right? It doesn't cater to your feelings or your opinions
Right.
or, you know, things that are unfair, things that you don't like. Like truth is not subject to any of
To
that.
anything. So you can embarrassment,
It's not subject to any of that.
right.
Right? I like to think of it as truth is its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's here. Now
Right.
you can align with it or not, but that doesn't change the fact that it exists. It's real. It's tangible, right? And I mean, we could go back and forth and around in circles, but the idea is if you can't accept the idea of truth being objective, right, and not subjective to your perception of it, like I said, 1+1 is 2, whether you know it or not.
Right.
When your newborn baby is born, they don't know math yet.
Right.
But whether they ever learn math, 1+1 is still going to be 2, and not just linguistically in how we say it, but in concept. If you take one of something or what we all understand to be one of something and add it to another one of something, right? That
That
process is always going to add up the same way.
it's always going to be the same way.
Universal law,
Exactly.
right? Law of gravity, thermodynamics, like everything about nature, the fact that it rains, stuff like that, how the earth spins and orbits around the sun, all of that. It's like
So
that's happening, even if we don't know it. So we can't create truth. We can only discover it as men, as
Right.
people. Like our perceptions are limited. We can live 1,000 years and never see everything there is to see on the earth. So we have to come to the conclusion and accept the fact, the truth.
accept the fact, because I was just about to ask you, are we fearful of the truth?
Sometimes, if it don't benefit us, I think people are. I think that's the main reason why.
That's when
people-
we make it untrue. That's
Right.
when we like, nah, that's
Yeah. I mean, if it's a good thing,
right.
then it's like it reminds me of stereotypes, right?
Yeah.
Like people act like they hate stereotypes, but they only hate negative stereotypes,
Right.
right? Like if you talk about the NBA and you say, man, shoot, the NBA 70% black. Like black people, they best athletes. Like I hear black people say this all the time. We the best athletes. Da, 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 da.
Right.
Like you accept that stereotype, right? But if it's a negative stereotype saying, blacks are statistically more likely to commit murder or something like that, it's like,
Right.
oh, why you stereotyping?
Why you stare like bro? Because that's the fact right now.
I mean, it's
You know?
not. It's not like saying the truth doesn't mean that you agree with it
Right.
necessarily, or that it makes you happy, right?
Right.
Because life is not.
But truth ain't really about making you feel good
No,
though.
it
It's
has
that's
nothing to do
like
with
we stating, like it's exactly what it is. It's the facts, it's the reality. It's something you can't run from because the picture is right there, right in front of your face.
It's subjective. It does not care how you feel. It's unyielding,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one of the things that gets me about the way Jesus described the Holy Spirit,
Mm-hmm.
Before he left the earth in the New Testament, he calls it the Spirit.
We
of
on a
truth.
roll. I was actually going there next. Go ahead.
No, you.
No, I really was.
Where
I
was you
really
going?
was. I was about to ask you, how can people find truth in terms of spirituality?
So
Because that's the biggest really barrier or wall
Mhm.
that kind of, prevents people from actually crossing over and actually believing that, Jesus Christ is real and everything else.
I believe that 100%, and I believe that that's why the concept of truth in of itself is being challenged. Because if you eliminate truth as a concept,
Right.
then there can't be one religion, right? If truth is now subjective to however you feel, then how can you say that this is the only way to God? How can you say that Jesus was the Son of God? How can you say anything,
Exactly.
right? Our society, our civilization is built on fundamental truths that everybody understands, right? Stuff like I said, gravity, right? The fact that people build buildings a certain way. The whole engineering field is based on, it's a science of truth,
Right.
right? When you talk about mass and you talk about, certain angles that you have to build things at, like those are all fundamental truths that are unyielding, that don't vary based on somebody's feelings, right? The sun is going to come up whether you having a good day or a bad day, whether,
Right.
So understanding that and just accepting the concept that truth is objective, regardless of whether or not you recognize it or even agree, it's there. And the best thing that we can do to orient ourselves is to align with it as closely as we can.
Is truth non-recognizable? Is it
It is.
I mean, did I just create a word?
Unrecognizable? That's a word.
I said non-recognizable.
I know what you meant. I heard what you meant.
You know what I mean?
I don't.
But I don't know.
heard
We,
what you meant.
since we started this podcast, we just been making up words.
Hey,
but I feel like
what was the word of the week last week? It's gonna be
last-
like Sesame Street. The made up word today is
what was it last week?
Look, we don't watch our own show.
Yeah, look, no, we watched it enough.
Sermony.
Sermony.
Yeah, sermony. I forget what it means, but it's a word. It's
But,
on the dictionary. Not really.
That's what I'm talking about. That's how I feel in terms of truth. You know what truth is, and how people personalize it. I don't feel like we can personalize truth. I don't feel like we would like to. You know, we would like to, because I mean, we just
It's
people.
convenient.
It's convenient. We like everything to be our way. What fits our agenda, our own agenda.
Right.
But you can't personalize a fact. You can't personalize, you know, something that just is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And I think from a gospel perspective, you know, the only way that we're ever going to be able to sell the idea of Jesus, right, the cross, or
I don't want to sell it. I mean, I know what you meant, but for a person that doesn't know Christ, when we use, you know, it's like we got to be particular about the words that we use, because if we use sell, then it's like, oh, you're just trying to, you know what I mean? It's like when I go to that car lot, like, you're just trying to convince me this for your own gain. And, you know, me getting you over to Christ is not for my own gain, but it's for your own gain. So I can't
Well,
sell
I'm
you.
not-
I know what you meant, but I'm just, so for the, you know, for the listeners.
But on that note,
Mhm.
I'm not opposed to that perspective.
Okay.
Yes, I want you to believe in God.
Right.
I want you to have salvation, the same salvation that was offered to me. I'm not ashamed about that.
Right.
You know what I mean? If a car salesman, like, people act like people don't want cars.
Right.
Like, car salesman, yeah, when you get there, they might be trying to sell you this, sell you that, talk you, but you went to the car lot
But
because
you
you
still
want a
want-
car.
Exactly.
So a good salesman is not there to deceive you.
Mm-hmm.
A good salesman is there to give you what you want.
But so many people have been sold dreams and have been deceived, which is another wall barrier with us in terms of getting people the truth.
Yeah. I agree
So,
with that.
you know, that's why just which I understood what you said. Like I said, it's just for people who don't understand, because in terms of, you know, this is not for me. You know, when I sell you this car, when you come to my lot, hey, guess what? I'm gonna get this commission next week.
Yeah.
For this car. I don't even feel like we get rewards for saving souls. You know, I feel like we'll be rewarded in terms of based off of following and doing the things that we're supposed to do, being, you know, Christ-like, but I don't think it's a reward in actually saving.
If you love somebody, then you do get a reward.
Ooh, talk about it.
If
Talk
you,
about
like,
it.
seriously,
I was waiting
like,
for you to say. I was waiting for you.
No,
I
that's
knew
a
you was gonna-
reward. Like, I'm
Talk
glad
about it.
about
You're
that.
right. You're
Like,
right.
if
Right.
I love you,
Yeah.
right, and then you tell me, you call me up and you say, you know, you was a non-believer, I gave you that gospel, that good work, right, that biblically sound doctrine
Right.
that changed your life, and you gave your life over to Christ, right?
Right.
Why wouldn't I be happy about that? You know what I mean? Like, we get so caught up in the corrupt aspect of men, but even if you, like I said, to use the car salesman thing, it's like, yes, they get a commission, but the commission is because they did a good thing. The concept of somebody coming to a car lot, buying a car,
Mm-hmm.
the person selling the car making money,
Right.
right? The company's making money, and then that person walks away with a car. Those are all good things in of themselves. Yes, you have people that manipulate it for their own advantage, just like the gospel.
Right.
People will manipulate it for their own advantage to get more out of it than they're due, right? Or for selfish reasons. But in concept, people need cars. And especially if you don't know a lot about cars, right?
Right.
If you don't have really the experience, or you really just don't want to buy anything and regret it,
No,
a
that's
car
true.
salesman is a good thing,
That's
right?
true.
He could tell you the maker, he could tell you if it's reliable, you know, if it's had any work done to it. Like, in concept, a car salesman should be a good thing, but we've been so corrupted by the idea, they call it church hurt on the gospel side, because it's like, well, people who weren't doing Christianity right hurt me. So now Christianity must be bad. It's the
Right.
same attitude with car salesmen,
Right.
right? I had a bad experience with a car salesman, so therefore car salesman period must be bad. Like,
And that's almost like a human self-defense mechanism
It is.
for
That's
almost
exactly what
anything.
it is.
You know what I
That's
mean?
exactly what it
And it's sad because us as people, we have to know and determine what to cut off and what actually to keep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because I had this one bad incident doesn't mean that everything that comes out of this is bad.
Right.
You know, from here on out. And no, I follow you. Now, what do you think about truth in relationships?
Oh man.
What does truth do for
Why
that?
you?
I mean, we're talking about truth. That's
Oh,
why
man.
I really appreciate your topics, you know, and I'm sure that people that have been listening with the first episode and, you know, future listeners, you know, they're going to be able to embrace it, which I hope, and nothing is taken like you know, like this is a condemning session, but I appreciate your topics because it covers so many different entities, you know, that we really need to talk about, because there has to be a conversation as to why certain things are happening. That's the only reason why. That's the only way that we'll actually get to the actual core of changing who we are.
Yeah.
If you want to live and breathe and wake up and be a better person every day, you know.
Right. So, I guess truth in relationships. Only reason I don't mind going back to the Bible. The only reason I try not to is because if you're a non-believer, I feel like it alienates you a little bit.
Yeah, because
soon
then
as you
people feel
wanna
like
bring-
you're too churchy, bro.
Oh yeah.
No,
like-
you
or they-
had me until then.
Yeah, and it's like they feel like they can't relate to it all of a sudden.
Right.
But I'm gonna say this:
Mm-hmm.
I believe the Bible is true, right? The
Right.
Bible is true, whether I believe it or not.
Right.
But because I believe it, I relate to it, and I try to use that as the guiding principles in my life, right? So the truth is that relationships have a design, right? They have a purpose, like everything else that God created, right? There is a way that we're supposed to conduct ourselves with one another. There is a way that we're supposed to relate to one another. The Bible would describe as moral and immoral,
Right.
right? And when it comes to relationships, any relationships, not even just romantic relationships, I think the best thing that we can do is have an understanding of what that purpose is and operate within that purpose as best we can, because we all imperfect. But to the best of our ability, we want to operate within that framework so that we have the most seamless experience and, you know, are just in line with what the design was, right? Because I mean, you can use things for other things. Like I could use a toothbrush as a shovel if I wanted to. I could
Right.
dig a little hole.
You make it
But
hard for yourself.
it's going to be hard though,
Exactly.
right? So I think the best thing when it comes to truth and relationships, romantic or otherwise,
Yeah.
is that you have to understand the purpose and what we are all here to do and how we're supposed to relate to one another.
So like we talked about last week, and I know I've been saying it to you the past 2-3 weeks, identifying and understanding.
Yeah.
You can't do anything that we're talking about without understanding. They always say that the truth sets you free.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But if people have a certain dynamic at how they look at truth and they personalize truth, this isn't white. This
Nope.
is totally red right now.
Nope.
In a relationship, no matter the relationship, in a relationship,
Mhm.
how can you be true if the person that you're in a relationship with is not? This is red. This is
It's red because I said it's
because
red.
this is red.
Oh, you just a man and you think because you can say it's white or yeah.
This is red. I don't
So,
care what you say.
I'm about to tell you how.
Okay,
Listen,
let's talk about it.
this is how you get somebody. Get your notepad out because
Yeah.
it's important.
Let's go.
This is how you can get somebody to accept the truth. You ready?
Accepting truth.
This is how.
Mm-hmm.
Step 1.
Yeah.
Love and happiness. Yeah. Something that can make you do wrong, make you do right.